Welcome back to Small Caps. My name once again, Kerry Stevenson, and today lithium is the word on everybody's lips, and the lithium squeeze, lithium price being stronger and stronger. We're going to be talking with Galan Lithium. ASX code is GLN. Joining me today is their Managing Director, Juan Pablo Vargas de la Vega. But for all of you out there that think that's too much of a mouthful, I'm going to call him JP for short. JP, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me on Small Caps today.
Thank you, Kerry. I'm glad that you're not working for an airline otherwise.
What? Why? Did I get it all? Did I pronounce it all wrong?
Yes, you did, but that's okay. The main thing is that we're talking about Galan, so not to worry.
Okay, so it's JP. So JP, before we dive into because you've got a lot of news coming out, just give us a brief overview of who are Galan Lithium for our listeners out there.
Yeah, we are an Australian listed company. Galan actually, we came up to, I'm the managing director and founder of Galan Lithium. This was an idea while I was in Argentina on a site visit a bit more than 4 years ago actually. It was my grandmother's 100th birthday at the same time. It's something that
wow.
Yeah, she would have been 104 now. But anyway, I was in Argentina, saw this spectacular opportunity, and it was so good that I quit my job as an analyst and started this company. And since then, I'm very proud of the team that we have built. We have a fantastic team in Argentina, and I feel very, very lucky to have a very supportive board here in Australia. So Galan today, it's a very different company, and we are making something very special because we got a strong drive, good people. We got a significant lithium experience as well at the board level, at management level. And we have two projects in Argentina, very close to each other. And we have an early exploration greenfields project in Western Australia. Interesting enough, south of the Greenbushes mine. So our project is called Greenbushes South. The ones in Argentina are called Hombre Muerto West, because it's right on the western side of the salt flat. And also the next one is called Candelas. So we have had very good success in Argentina. Our focus currently is there. We have a total inventory of around 3 million tons of lithium carbonate equivalent, and we want to advance our projects rapidly into a DFS stage. One of them, Hombre Muerto West, is the first one that we kick in. We did a scoping study / PEA release in December last year, performed by Worley with the office in Chile, and that gave fantastic numbers in terms of metrics, $1 billion pre-tax, and a very low operating cost of $3,500 a ton. Since then, we are getting ready to take this project into a DFS, and there's a lot of activities that I will be naming in a minute. But at the same time, we recognize that we have our second project in Argentina, which is called Candelas, and we are taking Candelas with all the learnings that we took from Hombre Muerto West and apply this to Candelas. And we expect to have our result of our scoping study in the next coming quarter. So what we have in Galan is special because when you look at the big picture of salt flats in Argentina, not many of them has high grade and low impurities, and this is a fantastic point for us to where to start. And I couldn't be happy with where we are at this stage.
JP, you were an analyst before. You said 4 years ago you went across to Argentina and you saw this opportunity. Why these particular projects? And did you understand that? Because right now, as I sit and talk to you today, lithium price is very strong. There is going to be a squeeze. We know that. We know that there's not enough supply coming on. And you're taking your time about making sure that you lay the right foundations and the end product is what the customer wants. But what did you see 4 years ago? Because at that stage, the squeeze wasn't there. Why did you choose these projects? What did you see in them?
Well, it's been longer than 4 years. 4 years ago, I came across the opportunity. I've been wanting to start my own lithium company more, it would have been 5.5 years ago. I could see what it was happening. Being in the lithium sector, I'm a mineral economist by background, so I could see that lithium was turning a corner. I could see that the need for batteries was just starting. And I could see that the supply in the short term, I mean, 4 or 5 years, would not be enough. So we are living some of the things that the market sort of predicted that it will be. So it took me a year and a half of give or take to find the right project.
Okay.
And when I saw it, it was so good that I didn't hesitate to give it a go.
Why these projects, and were they owned by somebody else before? I'm sorry to ask you all these questions, but I think it's important to set the scene so that people understand, because there are other lithium companies out there, but I just want to unpack where the value is for shareholders and also future investors, and why Galan stands out from the pack, I guess.
Well, the thesis was very simple at the time. Geologically, we are on the western part of the Hombre Muerto salt flat, and we have 2.3 million tons sitting there from our end, and on alluvial plains that initially people were looking at maps in 2D. So what I came is a different thinking, looking at this from a bigger picture, I guess, and look at maps in 3D. And we demonstrated that the extension of the salt flat that ends, or people recognize that it could end at the borderline of where the white stuff is in a pristine salt flat. Actually, it continued for a few kilometers, when even on an area that has a slope and is pretty much buried. But the salt flat itself and all the aquifers keeps underneath. So with that thesis proven, we have all the qualities of the Hombre Muerto Basin. We have Livent. The Livent Corporation is a New York listed company, and they have been producing lithium carbonate for around 28 years. The lithium revolution with the lithium ion batteries started with Argentine lithium from Hombre Muerto. So those sunny handicaps, they started with that type of lithium. Further fast track the first Tesla vehicles, the batteries coming with Panasonic batteries, and again supplied from Livent. Fast track a few years, and now Livent has signed an offtake agreement with BMW, and so there's a lot of things happening at Hombre Muerto itself. And on the eastern side of Hombre Muerto, POSCO purchased half of Sal de Vida from the old Galaxy on the other end of the salt flat. So they paid $280 million. And this is interesting because this is a Korean company that is not a miner, fully integrated all the way to the mine to get to lithium. So they did this 2 years ago, and at the time was a bit aggressive, but now no one is questioning the move. And lastly, Galaxy merged with Orocobre to make them the fifth, if I'm not wrong, the fifth largest lithium company by production in the world. So it's not a coincidence that the qualities of Hombre Muertos are unique in terms of the combination of grade and impurities. So that sets Galan in a different context in Argentina at a world level, because at the end of the day, the less impurities you have, the lower your operating cost.
Yeah.
The higher you grade, the easier becomes to treat your chemical exercise to produce lithium carbonate, if you want to go that way.
So, and right now, where are you at with the project? You mentioned that you've got 2 projects over in Argentina. You've got 1 in Australia. We haven't mentioned Australia yet. But in terms of the process of getting into production, because the squeeze is coming, we know that. How long out are you? What's the process that you're going through right now, and the news flow in the next few months, so that investors get an idea of the value add that's coming?
Yeah. Well, I will start saying that approximately 3 weeks ago, we did a cap raise of $50 million. And so
at what price? At what price, JP?
$1.15.
Yep.
So that raise itself give us the required funds to propel both of the projects to DFS, definitive feasibility study. We expect to have them both studies finalized by the late half next year, and we'll have what are we doing with the money? We are drilling, because whilst we have a resource, we need to convert the resource into reserves.
Yeah.
So that's a key thing that we are currently doing. We've got the permits for Hombre Muerto West, and as we speak, we're drilling. We announced this a few weeks ago. So we are working hard throughout the summer time to get all the drilling required to convert our resources to reserve through our updated geological study. There's a hydrogeological study. So we need to see how dynamically this flow moves within our tenement, that will, as a result, it will give us a production rate. The same thing that's going to be applicable to Candelas in terms of the geology and the reserves that we need to confirm. And you feed that data into an engineering study, and that engineering study will have, as a feed as well, a pilot plant. So the pilot plant will have a front end, which are ponds at site that will start evaporating the brine. And once evaporation gets completed, we take this brine and put it into a plant itself at site to produce lithium carbonate, targeting battery grade. So there's a few activities that we need to finalize in between, but we have the funds to do so, and it's going to take us the next 12 months or so, give or take, and by then, hopefully by 12 months time, 15 months time, we'll be having fingers crossed, two studies completed, with a view that we need to take at least one of them forward to production. And what production means, we have two alternatives. One of them is to become a lithium chloride concentrate producer, which is the front end of the pilot plant that we're mentioning, or become a lithium carbonate producer that add more complexity, and it will take us longer. Right. If we become a lithium chloride producer, our timeline to production could be around 3 years, compared to 4 to 5 years if we want to become a lithium carbonate producer. Cost-wise, it's going to take us 50 to 60% of the initial capex that we estimate to produce lithium concentrate. And the important thing for us is to become a producer quicker. And in this way, if we can proceed to produce concentrate first and then carbonate, we can reduce our risk. In other words, we want to walk before we run.
Right.
So smart. We need to understand things. We want to get to cash flow. So this is our thinking. This is what we like to execute, and this is part of what we're moving forward. And in terms of the activities, we have demonstrated the brine at a lab level can concentrate to levels that are commercially enough to be sold as concentrate. So we tick that box. We take in the carbonate, so our concentrate, and produce carbonate. We know we can do it. So that all of this feeding our pilot plant. And so we know that at Hombre Muerto West, we have a capacity from our first study to 20,000 tons of lithium carbonate for 40 years. That's sort of the assumption that we had. We have also done further studies that we can accommodate ponds for evaporation up to 25,000 tons of lithium carbonate equivalent. And we like to confirm that through our reserve statement that we're going to be finalizing once we finish drilling. On the other hand, Candelas is an interesting one because it could yield anywhere between 10 to 15,000 tons of lithium carbonate equivalent for around 20 years. So if you look at the big picture of Galan, the steps that we're going forward, this company could potentially head into a maximum of 40,000 tons of lithium carbonate equivalent profile production. Not tomorrow, but if you start looking into the long term, that's something that Galan could achieve. And this is something that we need to confirm, but this is our sort of view at this stage. And it'll be significant if we do so, because if you use the operating cost of $3,500 a ton, round it to 4,000 if you want to be too conservative. And if you look at the long-term cost price assumption today, it's around $15,000 a ton. The $1 billion exercise that we did in December assume that's the MPV for Hombre Muerto West. That assumed $11,500 a ton.
Oh wow!
So it's
big difference.
Big difference. So our worst case scenario is $1 billion for our first project, and
that's just the first project, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and the second one will add on to it, and we know that the current long-term price assumption of $15,000 a ton, and even ahead 16,000, but then it becomes a bit like really hard to predict. I prefer to be conservative, work with 15, 16 max. The current price is sitting this week at $18,200 a ton, and we know that's gone up to $28,000 a ton in the previous run. So this is one of also the reasons why, as you point out, there's a squeeze, and we believe I believe the squeeze is already almost here.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get to market as soon as we can with a low profile in terms of low risk profile if we can execute.
Yeah, I mean the gap between now and 2030 is massive, and the supply squeeze is coming if it's not already starting. Is it too early to ask you about offtake, and are people having a little bit of a sniff around what you've got there and pushing you to do things a little bit quicker?
Well, we're not close to do a sign an offtake with anyone, but on the other hand, we should have a potential cash position around $65 million down the track, and we're not far of that because we have tranche 2 coming up, and so we have enough money to execute what we say we'll do in the time that we say we'll go, and we have also funds to explore green bushes. So
that was what I wanted to bring up, actually, JP, because surely Hombre Muerto West and Candelas are going to keep you very busy. What was the strategy around getting green bushes down here in Australia?
Well, Galan is built on the opportunity to see things beyond the obvious and taking a punt as an exploration company on further upside that we demonstrated with Hombre Muerto West and Candelas. So because the location of the JV of Greenbushes South is 3 kilometers south from the pit of the Greenbushes mine, then is it worth to apply neurology? I would say absolutely. It's worthwhile given a punt that was available, and we did that for a script. We didn't pay for it, and we are advancing the project. We're digesting a lot of public data, and we're coming out with our own ideas, and we're applying to get the drilling done. There's a bit of red tape, as you always do through the government departments, but and this is our first project in Australia itself, and we're all learning a lot through that, but it's very encouraging of what we've seen. So if you ask me what I see today compared to when we took the project out, I think that there's the arrows that keep pointing in the same direction, and with and even stronger than before. That's my take as a conclusion from what is it Greenbushes South venture, joint venture. Is it worth it? And I'll say absolutely, yeah, it was worth it when we took it, and even more now, because to have something there, it will be fantastic.
How much of what you raised, I mean, again, approximately, are you going to be putting in? How much focus on Greenbushes as against the Argentinian projects, which have been the focus? At
this stage, probably 90-10.
Okay.
The reason is we have 2 deposits proven that are acid in there. Greenbushes is it looks very interesting, but we want to do this step by step. I'm conservative at all. We want to do this right. We don't want to cut corners. We want to make sure that if we're gonna find something, we give the best shot possible.
All right, now look, we don't have a lot of time left, and it would be remiss of me not to talk about your the ESG, the way that you're going to be looking at the traceability and the environmental impact of your lithium carbonate. Just talk to us about that and why that strategy is important going forward for Galan Lithium.
Well, the world, we're trying to be transparent about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And also, it's important to, if we do this exercise, and by doing this exercise, sorry, so we're going forward with it, we can see where we can improve, what areas can we reduce our carbon footprint. We'll have one, but you can improve from there. So, and whichever client wants to understand how much we're burning or what it is, somebody else can come with a fantastic idea to help us to reduce our carbon footprint. And I think that's required. The world is moving in that way. So, and we're trying to be, from our end, responsible and take the initiative. We're not being asked to do so, but we want to be able to show that, yeah, we, through our process, we'll have a number, and that number can be improved from then. So, and I think that it's, as a whole, it's in the mining sector, it's something that it's worthwhile to be able to demonstrate and have, and it's another option that is going in the right direction globally.
Yeah, so it's tracking and managing the source, the supply, the impact, and the carbon footprint. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, we need to manage it, and we need to reduce it as much as we can.
Okay, so JP, just if you wouldn't mind, like, talk to me about the shareholder value that you see going forward. For those, I mean, congratulations, your share price has been strong since I first talked to you. It's all going in the right direction. Where's the value add going forward from here for those people who've not yet investors and for those current shareholders?
Well, I always mention that Galan is a marathon, it's not a race. So I don't think that we're halfway there. There's a lot of value to be added in the work program that we have. We have a year and a half or year full of news, and the squeeze is going to come out. And we believe that we are the real deal. We become a producer, and that's what we believe, and that's what we're trying to get the company into. So to become a lithium producer, it requires a lot of steps, and we are conservative in the way that we're doing so. And you can look at examples of other lithium Argentine companies that became producers. Actually, it's only one. But you can see the trajectory on the share price as the way maturing the project, as the way adding value, as the way getting every milestone. And we are still probably a third of the way we could be down the track. So bear in mind, one project, as you said, had $1 billion of value added with a very conservative price forecast assumption. And we have 2 projects. And, they could be a rabbit, in a bag that we can pull off at green bushes, fingers crossed. That it's wishful thinking in a way, but it's still a good upside that we may have. So,
well, we're running out of time, JP. So I always end my interviews like this, which is, I'll give you a second to think about it because I've given you no notice on this one. I want 3 reasons only, why investors should be looking at Galan Lithium, ASX code GLN, right now. 3 reasons why they should be investing.
We have a very strong team in Australia and Argentina. I back my team all the time, and every time they're very good. And we have demonstrated that we're good at what we're doing and do that on time and budget. Second, we have the second leg of this. We have a very good resource in Argentina. We have that resource with high grade, low impurities, very competitive. You cannot replicate that. And thirdly, now we have the money. We have the money to execute all this, all the studies. So, team, project, and money. We have the 3.
Team, project, money, and as he just said before, they raised 50 million. They don't need to come back to the market. And what JP just said, he's doing it methodically. He's not rushing it. JP, thank you so much for telling us the Galan Lithium story today here on Small Caps. A lot of news flow coming forward. I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kerry.